God, no, just the opposite. I got the confirmation that I will be playing the World Championship in Mahjong this year in Vienna, and that means I need to practice. So at the beginning of every stream... Alright, so also this part will be recorded and set to YouTube for later on, so this will kind of now be the start. So I'm gonna start talking about that and start explaining. So, I will be taking part in the Riichi Mahjong World Championship this year, which is in August and in Vienna. I qualified because I qualified for... thank you. I qualified for 2020, and that was frozen because it didn't take place because of certain things. And then 2021 also didn't happen, so it was all carried over to 2022. And therefore, at the beginning of every stream, we're going to do 30 minutes of Mahjong. And we're also going to start the stream 30 minutes early, so it still aligns with what people are used to with regards to the regular content. But I guess for those who are interested, or for the original 50 people who followed me back in the day when I started this channel, the actual expected content of Mahjong. Madness. Right. So, I'm going to begin the madness to method. There is method to the madness. I don't know. I'm going to begin explaining. Feel free to post questions in chat. I'm going to be using both the Japanese and the English words whenever I know both. And it might be that sometimes I only know the English term and sometimes I only know the Japanese term. And in that case, I will still explain them all. So, this is played with the same pieces that you play that you play Mahjong Solitaire with, right? So you know that game where you always take away from a heap in pairs of 2, right? It's the same pieces, but originally it's a game for 4 players. And we're going to take a look at how that works and what these are. But first, let's focus on the tiles themselves. What I have here are 2 Mahjong sets. I'll rotate it like this so we have better lighting. This is a cheap one from China. This is an expensive one from Japan. The only advantage of this one is that... Yo, Mahjong! Hey! Mike. No. Michael, right? It's the cool tile game. It is indeed. So the only advantage that this set has over the other... Man, long time to see. Good to hear from you. Is that this has numbers on what every tile is, whereas this does not. So if you don't speak Japanese, then it will be difficult to get used to these, or at least at the beginning. Now, if you want to play along, I recommend the following. Just so you can get a feel for what it is, and a brief overview over the rules, but I will explain all, or the most important ones, in this instruction stream and in this instruction video, depending on whether you're currently watching on Twitch or later watching on YouTube. Okay, so let's take a look at a couple of these tiles. Okay, so there's a lot to unpack. But first of all, most importantly, every tile exists exactly 4 times. Right? So, we have 3, as opposed to the 4 suits you have in regular card games, we have 3 suits in Mahjong, which are these bamboo tiles, also called Soul, these circle tiles, also called pins, and these number tiles, called Man. Let me put it this way around. Called Man. Now, for the pins, it's all fairly easy. The number it represents, each of those represent a number from 1 to 9. For the pins, it's fairly easy. The number it represents is just the number of circles. So this is the pin 1. I can put this a bit closer, maybe. This is the pin 1, and it has a 1. This is pin 3 and pin 5. And it's also written in the corner. For the bamboos, it is quite similar. It's just the number of bamboo sticks that you see. Sometimes it's a bit difficult to differentiate between the 9 and the 6. And the 8 looks a bit weird. But most importantly, and do not forget this, this is the bamboo 1. Right? In this set, it looks like this. I can't get those out easily. So this is the bamboo 1 in the Mahjong, in this set. And this is a Sparrow. And the Chinese word for Sparrow is Maajan, I believe. And that's where the name of the game comes from. So it's the Sparrow's game. So there's other pieces that are... Oh, and then the So pieces, which... so it's not a peacock, no. Wild, yeah. So bamboo is also known as So. Circles are also known as Pin. And the numbers are also known as Man. And they have what you can see here. Underneath is a Chinese symbol for 10,000, and above are the numbers from 1 to 9. So if you're not used to those, you need to learn. Oh, depending on where the set is met, it's often a national bird. Interesting. I didn't know that. Yes, feel free to spread in some trivia. Right. That's the 3 regular suits, and then there's 2 more kinds of extra pieces, which also appear 4 times each. There's the dragons. Let me just find a couple of dragons. Yeah, well, that's convenient. 1 second. So there's the red dragons, the green dragons, and the white dragons, which are completely blank. And then there's also the winds. And the winds, or the directions, are, as you'd imagine, east, south, and let me see if we have some other directions somewhere else where they're easily seen, west and north. Now, when you will see me play, I will be playing on this set. Or on a set that vaguely resembles this. So you'll need to kind of figure out what each of these are. Real life Mahjong tutorial, indeed, Cloudato. Welcome in, Doc. So on the one hand, you will need to learn the Chinese characters for the numbers from 1 to 9, but that's fairly straightforward after some time. And on the other hand, you'll need to differentiate between the winds and possibly the green dragon. That can be a bit confusing at the beginning. Then there's also dice and points. I don't really want to get into that too much currently. All you need to know is this is worth 1,000 points. And you will we'll go through that, what that means later. So, I think for this tutorial we will continue with this set for now, just so you can get a feel for the tiles without it being too worrying, without having to think about like what tile is what and whatnot. Okay. So, as discussed, this is a game for 4 players. So 4 players will be sitting on a square table, or around a square table rather, each having their own tiles, which will be 13 tiles, and they continuously draw a tile and discard a tile in order to improve their hand. They draw from a wall and they discard into a common pond discard area. Now, what is the goal of these 13 tiles that people need to collect? Let me give a few examples of things that can happen and should happen. What you want is, in the end, is 1 pair, so the same piece twice, and special sets of 3 that work together. Now, a pair is easily found, just the same piece twice. Like this, pair of pin 9. Maybe I can zoom in a little. Hang on, let me try to see. That is here. Oh, can I zoom on this? I don't know. Let me try. No, I can't. Dang it. Can I zoom here? Great, it's doing updates. Anyway, so this is a pair, and then what else you need is either a triplet of the same piece. Good to see you back with the tiles. It feels good to be back. So, for example, you could have 3 red dragons. So that would be a triplet. Another thing you can have is a sequence. And a sequence is just in the order that you have always a sequence of 3, starting somewhere around 1 and ending somewhere around 9. So for example, 2, 3, 4 is a valid sequence. 1, 2, 3 is a valid sequence. 7, 8, 9 is a valid sequence. 8, 9, 1 is not a valid sequence, despite some people trying that in the beginning. It won't work. Can we or are we required to have? You will acquire during the game. So, first of all, at the beginning of the game, your hand will be all jumbled up, right? And then you have some kind of hand, and then you discard a piece and you pick a piece. You discard a piece and you pick up a piece. And now I've got a pair. Right, yeah, that's... Okay, my Logitech does not want to zoom in. Then I'll zoom in manually. Okay. By placing that guy right here. Okay. Right. So. Right. So imagine you have like, which way is up? This way is up. This pair and these other pieces. We'll ignore for now that an actual hand consists of many, many more pieces, because usually it's 13. But just to get a feel for it, what you're looking for is like, for example, if you have this pair and you throw something away that doesn't fit in there, and then you pick a piece, and now you have a triplet. So you need to get a pair from somewhere else, right? So let's say you throw away the 2 and then pick the 7, right? And now you have another pair. Which doesn't mean that you can't still use this as a pair, but you'd have to throw one of them away at some point. Now, so the valid sets essentially are a pair, a triplet, we'll go into quadruplets at a later point, and a sequence. Now, the great thing about sequences is that they are much easier to get for several reasons. Number one, there's only 4 pieces. Each tile only exists exactly 4 times in the entire game, right? So if you want to get a triplet of them, that means you need to get like 75% of that exact tile throughout the entire game. You'd be surprised how likely it still is to get triplets. But, yeah. So that's why it's rather difficult to get triplets. Sequences, however, you only need, for example here, 2, 3, 4, you only need 1 of the 2s, 1 of the 3s, and 1 of the 4s. Right? So sequences are usually easier to get. Oh, you need to hurry and get blessings of the heaven. Tenhou, the hand of the heavens. That is when you have the winning hand as the very first starting hand. I don't think I've ever seen it. I've seen Renho a couple of times. Too bad can't watch, my phone can't keep up. I'm very sorry. It will be released as a VOD later on, if you want to catch up with it. Alright. Now, imagine the following situation. You have 5 and 7, and you have 3 and 4. Now, each of those is possible to complete into a sequence, but one is much easier than the other. Because 3 and 4 is both waiting on a 2 and a 5, which I, for some reason, do not have ready. Why do I not have a 5 ready? Because they're all in here. Alright, right. So, 3, 4 can be completed by 2 for 2, 3, 4, or by 5 for 3, 4, 5. Whereas if you have 7 and 5, really the only thing you can do is hope that at some point a 6 will come. You'll watch the rule.
VOD. You actually like Mahjong and learning to play. Nice. Keep in mind that this is, these are the Japanese rules. Well, the Japanese rules. It's one Japanese rule set of many, which is a bit annoying, but right, there we go. 5, 6, 7. Now that trick with the two-sided weight is what it's called. Of course, doesn't work in the end on the edges, right? Because if you take 9 and 8, you can't complete that with a 1, right? That's forbidden. And remember, this is bamboo 1. So this one is really only a one-sided weight for the 7, and the same for the bottom, right? This is all very important later on. So. But that is, let me just check, is that all that I want to say with the actual tiles before I head into the... No, we'll head, from here on, we will head into the actual gameplay. But I'll tell you this, at the beginning of the game, all tiles are shuffled, face down, and then you build walls stacked like this. Walls of 2. Right? Two on the bottom, two on the top. And then each player takes pieces in chunks of 4 until they have their hand. And that's something you will very, very briefly see at the very beginning of the program that we're about to start. Now, I'm very sorry, in that program, there is no, everything is in Japanese, and it's the same one that I have linked. If you type !Mahjong and want to follow along, it will be that very program with that very rule set that we will be using.